how I think we uncovered a side of Sidney Crosby that people haven't really seen before. So
Faceoff inside the NHL Season 2 back on Amazon Prime Friday. Let's talk to our dear friend and Buffalo legend, showrunner Daniel Amigone. Hello, Daniel.
what's up, fellas? How we doing? Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Tell us, Season 2 from Season 1, like what's different this year? What was your experience like going from, all right, like we kind of know how to do this and we've done it with success to now let's knock it out of the park?
That's the struggle with season two is often like you've had some success in season one. Okay, how do we change the paradigm a little bit? How do we, push a little bit further? And I felt like season one, it was a lot of, okay, you get to meet a character, meet a team, they get in the playoffs and they lose in the playoffs. We kind of fell into that mold with most of the story. So I really wanted to do some non-playoff stories, some more character-based stuff. We got to start a little bit earlier in the season so we could go a little deeper. And we had the gift of the Four Nations tournament as well. That really kind of changed the landscape of hockey, the attention on hockey. And yeah, when I sit down and think about, okay, what are the stories I want to tell going into a season? I think of the list of players, the teams that could be interesting. Who am I interested in as a filmmaker? And Seth Jarvis came to mind, Quentin Byfield, Brady Tkachuk, and those were guys who first conversation, they're like, I'm in. They have the personality, they have the story, and then who are the ones that are a little bit deeper, a little bit harder? And to me, those stories were number one, Sidney Crosby. I just knew how difficult it's been to get him to commit to things like this in the past, and then even more so, the Columbus story for me was that rare, even non-sports story that breaks through to an extent, where it really kind of touches people and affects people. And so, in early conversations with the NHLPA and the NHL and even, Prime Video, they're like, yeah, great story in Columbus. We would love to do it. It just feels too fresh, too raw. But I really wanted to fight for it and thought it was worth fighting for. And to Columbus's credit, in that first conversation with Todd Chirac, their PR guy, they were open to it. Todd was always going to protect his players, protect the families, and make sure it was being told in a respectful and right way. But for them to open their doors so soon after this tragedy, literally being in their homes and seeing what grieving looked like to them, this team that was forced to grieve in such a public way. To me, I thought there was so much to that story that would resonate with people. So that's kind of where I wanted to take this season, so that, yes, hockey fans are going to find this show and hopefully love it and hopefully get something more out of it than they saw in the season. But for non-hockey fans, that Columbus story to me was kind of number one for sure.
Do you feel like season one helped you at all in terms of pitching season two in the involvement? Like, was it easier knowing that there was proof of concept and that people liked it?
Yeah, I think yes and no. I wanted it to be easier than it ended up being, because in a season one you kind of take the cream off the top of like, okay, who are the no brainers that we have to go to, and the Connors and the Nylanders and the Swayman, like just these kind of big personalities who are going to deliver in that way. And then the moment that broke through the most from season one was Connor, imploring his teammates to get their shit together, and to a man, every player I spoke with for season two, the first thing they wanted to talk about was Connor and that moment. And their takeaway from it was, wow, he looked awesome. Like, he looked like such a leader. You don't get to see that. No one's ever seen that. And then in the same breath, it's like, I'm not sure I want that for me.
It's everyone's worst fear to like, hey, like you want to do like this big scary thing, and you're like, no. But then when you see it done, you're like, that's the baddest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Look, but like, I'm sure any player would be horrified to have there be a video of them yelling at their teammates out there. But as you said, like they have to be jealous of that also.
Yeah, and it's the memification of it. It's the, it's that it gets clipped. And I'm literally at my, my son's, 9-year-old squirt game, and I'm hearing, parents say like, dig the F in, like quote, and like look, like that's from the show. So it's a catchphrase that has taken hold in the hockey world. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword, but I like to think that in the season 2, players see, oh wow, people actually watch this. These guys weren't just they knew what they were doing. They put it together in a way that's satisfying. So in that way, it definitely helped for some players for sure.
Does anyone yell as much as the Oilers? Because you did that. You got that again. Corey Perry had Pete and I were talking before the show, and he was saying like arguably Corey Perry's is better because it worked and they won.
Yeah, every locker room is very different. And yeah, they're not afraid to, certain guys. I wonder if Corey Perry wasn't in that room, how much yelling would go on. You see Mitch Marner yelling in another episode. Like Florida is not a very yelly, screamy locker room. Columbus certainly not. They're very, that's another thing with Columbus. The first time we went there, I was, having been in a lot of these locker rooms, just blown away by the fact that in between periods, the guy from the fourth liner to Zach Werenski are like in the middle of the room talking strategy, saying, hey, if I'm here, you go here. It's like no one is just sitting in their stalls stewing like so many other locker rooms are. So, I would say, Edmonton rates on the high level of the yelly, screamy locker rooms, but every locker room is just so different. And it's wild to see that too.
From a storytelling perspective, was it a little disappointing that Florida won again last year? I mean, like Matthew Tkachuk is obviously a content gold mine, and anytime good things happen to him and he's at the center of it, it's probably good for you. But like you covered that last year, the Panthers beating the Oilers. Were you hoping for anything different this year?
I was, yeah. I mean, to be frank, hoping for a new story to tell, hoping that, the Oilers could get over the top. What a great 2-year story to tell, them losing. I'm sorry, DJ.
No, I hadn't considered that. I also wanted that. Now that you say it.
Sorry, yeah. But and so last year we had a 2-episode arc of the final series. This year it's only 1 episode. Because we had more kind of story to tell during the regular season. So I think there was enough with the addition of Brad Marchand, with Matthew's injury, with Zach Hyman's injury, that there were new kind of stories, and we could also reference our story from season 1 of Zach getting in front of the room and saying, I know we'll be back. So that's a big theme in the episode as well. So yeah, you always want to cover new ground, but the idea of a rematch is pretty juicy too. So it was trending in that direction, and as that series started, I was excited for it. And then as those first 2 games are 2 of the best hockey games any of us have ever seen in our lives. We're like, okay, we might need 10 episodes for this series, because this is going to be, epic. But as it went on and it became clear that Florida was the better team, it was clear we weren't going to tell like a enormously new story, but the idea of introducing, hey, is this a dynasty, and giving people another layer to it, seeing like what those conversations are between Matthew and Marchand, in the locker room, and it was again kind of some good, some bad with the rematch.
Okay, we've already kind of brought it up, but the Gaudreau episode and the Blue Jackets episode, that team deserved a documentary or maybe even like a Disney movie made about that season anyway. So I recommend everybody go watch that. It's like 40-ish minutes, and it's incredible. Like it basically documented the stadium series and like how big a moment that was between the Blue Jackets and the Red Wings. And as I was watching that, it's like, this is the perfect amount of everything, because obviously like Meredith Gaudreau, the strongest person in the world, is grieving and talking to you guys and kind of discussing what all these guys meant to Johnny. We're seeing this like heart from Sean Monahan, who famously is just like a very nice, but like not the most outgoing guy, just like does his thing. We're finding out what a fucking stud Zach Werenski is. Like if you want it just for the like, how did this team get through it? You got it. And if you want it from the, how did this team almost make the playoffs? You got it. Like that episode was seriously like, if I say masterpiece, it sounds like I'm blowing smoke, but I was very moved.
Well, that means a lot. And yeah, I think that was my messaging the entire season to our entire team was the bar is so high with this one, and we have to meet the moment, and we have to honor these people who are letting us tell this story. I think to me, like I said, this is a relatable story that unfortunately we can all, relate to that moment where you lose a loved one or a good friend or family member, is going through that. And you send the text message and you say, I'm here for you if you need anything and things like that. And as a society, we don't want to see, we don't behind those closed doors for some reason and have those tough conversations. And so, and I've always been fascinated with when someone this public passes away, what is it like to grieve in public like that? How hard is it to actually process when you're having to get in front of thousands of people and cry so many times and honor your loved one. And so again, that first trip there, they let us behind closed doors, and it wasn't guys sitting in a dark room crying, it was, but they weren't ignoring it too. They were telling stories about their friend. They were going to Meredith's house to take care of the kids. They were, making sure she was included in everything and wrapping their arms around her as a community and as a team. So, I was blown away by what I saw there. And again, I think it was just so important to me to get this one right and to have that balance, as well as you say, not make it just a, kind of a melodramatic, sob fest, but they did, as we were filming, they turned into one of the best hockey stories in the league too. So it was like, there's so much more to this than the tragic passing of their best player. And so, I'm hoping that we honored the story well. And I think they provided such a beautiful example of what it's like to properly grieve a loved one.
You did. And I'll just quickly say, like, a lot of things like that, like, I'm sure that you knew how you could do it wrong and what it would look like if you did it wrong. And like the NFL draft, for example, has been like reprimanded so many times for like searching for like trauma porn.
Yeah.
And like you so clearly were not searching for that. And even if you found it, you didn't show it. I cried 80 seconds into it. And then I like kind of smiled the rest of the way because you're rooting for them and you're just like seeing how these people are getting through it. Very, very tastefully done. Now, Pete, make fun of him or something. So.
No, I was going to ask, like, I think the thing that continuously impresses me is the access that you guys get both in and outside of the game. So I'm curious from your standpoint, because obviously you film over months and months and months. Was there a particular like experience or place that you went that was particularly cool?
Other than the Cobra Bar in Columbus that
That's right. Smoking
might have been there.
Many cigarettes.
Yeah, we all hang out. That's kind of what this is.
I'm trying to think. Four Nations. I had never been to Centre Bell before that tournament, and
pandering.
Wow.
Pandering.
No, that was good. Pete didn't know what you were talking about. I knew exactly what that was.
Who is Sandra Bell?
But just being in that environment, and then it was again, going into that tournament, it was like, is this thing a joke? Like the memes were going around, like Four Nations are facing off. Was everyone wanted to just say that over and over and over again? So when we got there, we were like, okay, it's a bit of a goofy tournament. The access wasn't really promised there to an extent that we thought it would be. And, but the two stories that we knew we had were Seth Jarvis and the Tkachuk brothers. And then for the Tkachuk brothers to say, hey, like, let's throw the league on our shoulder and do some of the craziest shit we've seen in years in the NHL. So the coolest moment, like being honestly the first game when Mario Lemieux's out there with Sidney Crosby getting introduced and the place is literally vibrating, and then the Canada scores that first power play goal, tic-tac-toe, and McKinnon puts it away. And I thought I was watching from that press box, and DJ, I'm sure that press, you're literally,
yes,
yeah, leaning straight over the ice, and had a bird's eye view of that goal. And I was just like, wow, 9-year-old me would be pretty pumped about how this is all going right now. So, and then for the first USA Canada game, again, the energy in that building, and then like I said, we. For whatever reason, other access not coming through, we had the Tkachuks, and we had Keith Tkachuk during that first game, mic'd up, camera on him for the entire game. And when he turns around to his wife, or, standing next to his wife before the fight start, and he just goes, watch this. And it's like, we were all like, what just happened? Like he knew about
fisting off.
Yeah. Exactly. So I'd say that was the coolest environment, coolest place. Just, again, it's a story that people have seen. It was covered, to such an extent, but we knew we had this extra layer that we were going to add to it that I think people will really, really enjoy seeing. So those are the moments where you got to get a little lucky, but that was probably the coolest environment, coolest kind of behind the scenes access that we had.
Do you have wheels spinning for stuff on season 3, or are you like taking a break and pushing yourself aside? Or is like even like the Landeskog stuff, is that something that you would see as an opportunity to like continue in season 3 and then make something out of that?
No, for sure. I think the one big thing that is still out there, well, there are a number of stories that I would love to get into for season 3. I think the whole Trevor Zegras changing kind of coasts, changing teams, and and that whole group of guys that are super tight and spend the summer together in Michigan, Caulfield, Hughes, Zegras. I think that would make one hell of an episode. Just those guys who are extremely close and have had varied success in their career, but are also they play a certain, I'm trying to avoid the term Instagram hockey, but they play a certain brand of hockey that I think would be interesting to explore, how that characterization affects them. And also I think Cole Caulfield is, just so magnetic, has such a great personality. And then, curious to see what happens in New Jersey this year with Jack Hughes, obviously. So that's one that I'm super into. Leon is still someone who I'm, fascinated by. There's so much left on that bone. And yeah, there are a ton of stories that I'm hoping that we can get a chance to cover in a season 3. So fingers crossed. We need everyone, all the whatnots, to, watch the show 100 times in week 1, and we'll get that season 3 going.
Okay, before we quickly ask you about the Buffalo Sabres, which is going to be a lot of fun for everybody, outside of the Blue Jackets episode, which I think kind of lives in its own world, which episode are you most proud of?
Man, the one that pops to mind is the Crosby Kopitar episode, just because I know how much went into getting Crosby on board and making the case to him that this was a story worth telling at this moment in time. I think it's, the bar is so low for what people know about him that I knew that if he just let us in to a certain extent, people would really appreciate seeing that side of him. And honestly, a guy who has accomplished everything in his career, again, we all go through tough times, low points, losses, but what's it like for the guy who's accomplished everything to go through that at the, in the last chapter of his career? How's he dealing with that on a daily basis? How is he still scoring a point a game? So that's Yeah, and then the Kopitar and Byfield, story of it all too, I think is, to me, that's the episode that I think, with all the trade talks, that's a big part of the episode. We spent trade deadline day with Pat Brisson in his office, as the calls are coming in, as the deals are getting done and not done. So I would say that one is just knowing how much went into it, and really how I think we uncovered a side of Sidney Crosby that people haven't really seen before. So yeah, that would be one that sticks out. But you're asking me to choose between my children, which I do have a favorite child.
All right, and
Who's your
it's
favorite
Michael
child?
Kesselring.
Yeah, no.
It's Zach Benson.
Last question from me. What does Seth Jarvis's apartment smell like?
Exactly what you think it would. Chicken, mostly, yeah, it smells like a 23-year-old's apartment. My favorite was like he literally has Legos on the dining room table. It's like, wow, dude, this is
Of course
you.
he is.
He's
You're
the
everything.
absolute greatest.
Honestly, like, yeah, that story, in watching him on your show and in following him, the last few years, I knew that he would be funny. I knew that, you ask him a question, he just doesn't answer in a typical way a hockey player answers, which is great. That's all you want. But then we sit down with him at Four Nations, and he's like, I ask him a question about his brother, and he starts welling up. There's emotion there. There's another layer of this self-confidence stuff, and this, this self-doubt. He's about to get on the ice with, play with Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon. He's got to give himself a pep talk to get on that ice. Say like, I'm good enough. I'm good enough. It's like, wow, that, he blew me away by, again, I knew there would be an entertainment level, you just know that's a given, but the layer underneath that of something that I think people will latch onto and relate to was really blew me away.
Yeah, I mean, he's so simultaneously relatable and unrelatable because everyone can relate to like imposter syndrome or thinking like, hey, maybe I'm not good enough. But I can't relate to thinking that while everyone is telling me, and there is financial and all these like various proof that,
Right.
oh, like not only are you good enough, man, you're fucking like the best. So what's that mind fuck like when you feel that way? And all anyone is telling you and all anyone is showing you is that like,
Yeah,
no, that's wrong.
yeah, no, he's so easy to root for, and yeah, I hope this like glimpse into what he's really like behind the scenes is useful for his career, and yeah, I think they're going to be damn good this year. So maybe we'll be back in Carolina.
We're definitely clipping that. I think they're gonna be damn good this year for Sabres preview with Daniel Amigone.
Hey, honestly, like I've been so pessimistic the last few years, and now like we traded away one of our best goal scorers. You can't really say we've made meaningful. I mean, Kesselring, whatever.
Whoa, hey.
We don't talk like that around here.
But I honestly think this year we're going to make the playoffs. And I've been through this drought with the Bills. Now we're deep in this drought with the Sabres. Every year there's a team that's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Why can't we be that team? We can be that team. Like the Bruins are down. I'm sorry, Pete. The Panthers have had some injuries. Like our division is. I'm not saying we're going to win the division, but I think there are enough points for us out there. If Josh Norris can stay healthy as he loves to do, I think we'll be all right. And yeah, the decor is incredibly strong. And Alex Gorgiev is waiting in the wings. So we're
NHL All-Star.
exactly.
Man,
When
like, they had a very good top six. They obviously have a very strong defense. And as Pete said, one of their goalies is an all-star. So
That's right.
I agree with you. Like some weird shit's going to happen in the East this year. I'm just not going to say what it is. So if someone wants to say it's that the Sabres make the playoffs, I'm like, sure, that's an option.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Let's do it. I'm into it. And then, yeah, obviously if they make the playoffs, that's a season 3 storyline, 100%.
then so season 3 is you following Sean. It's just Sean living life with the Buffalo Sabres being good.
I didn't say we're going to be good. We'll get, shit pumped in the first round of the playoffs. That's the ceiling.
That's somehow a step in the right direction.
It absolutely.
So.
Hey, you know what that is? That's experience, brother.
That's right.
Then the next season we say, okay, like they've learned.
They've been molded.
Yeah, they've got there and they've learned. Hey, once you're in the playoffs, it's not so easy. Did they have to learn that? Did they not already know that? Listen, man, this is a tough league, and you just keep throwing cliches on it and cliches on it. Next thing you know, Michael Kesselring's passing the thing off to Rasmus Dahlin.
Wow, so Kesselring gets the C.
They give him the C,
yeah, they give he's captain by then, yeah.
All right, I love it. Let's do it.
Okay, Daniel, you're the greatest. Your show is so good. Thank you for putting Pete all over it. Thank you for putting shit from our world all over it. I know there's an embargo, but there's a funny clip of a person in the What Chaos world maybe ranting about a certain player playing in a certain place. It's very funny. It's very good. You're the greatest.
I appreciate it, guys. And yeah, enough smoke
Katie
came.
Talking about Brad Marchand, by the way.
Spoiler alert. No, yeah, enough smoke came my way on this interview. So, just want to tell you guys, keep doing what you're doing. These summer episodes have been phenomenal. And yeah, you're in Faceoff so much because I think you guys are, two of the best voices in hockey right now. And yeah, it's a two-way street here of appreciation. So thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it. And October 3rd, stream all the episodes.
That's right. Watch them multiple times. Fall asleep with them on and let them play on repeat over and over and over again. We need season 3.
Exactly. Amen. All right. Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
We all silly like the mayor.